Hi, everyone. Welcome to First Congregational here in Sioux City. We're starting a series on spirituality. I wouldn't say it's just for confirmation, for teenagers. I would say it's for all ages. And today, I just want to give you kind of a little bit of a precursor to what we hope to get started, hopefully generate some interest in this topic. And it is kind of an awkward topic, right? I mean, kind of like the whole concept of the church in general. What is the church about? I mean, it's kind of becoming a relic in the Museum of Human Experience. However, there are thousands of years of human consciousness, reflective thought, experience, contemplation, and action that comes out of a larger historical context from the church that I believe is still worth unpacking. Why? Uh, I see a lot of people who are suspicious and skeptical of anything related to Christianity and the church, and I get it. And I think that hesitancy and resistance toward the church is very valid. And there are many examples to choose from on why the Christian church is a terrible place to do a spiritual journey. And I've been there. And I'll talk about that later. But I believe our country is in the midst of what David Brooks calls a full-blown moral crisis. 78 years since the end of World War II. And I think Brooks says we've run the course of the me centric society. And some of the spiritual supplements we take for this hole in our soul, for having too much focus on me, myself, and I, come from internet gurus who want $29.99 to tell us the secrets of success and self-actualization. And as they give us tours of their successful million-dollar mansions, it's mostly just an ego, chest-thumping greed thing. And to me, it's just another part of the moral crisis. And somehow these internet grifters led me to take another look at the example, the life of Jesus. And it's so radically different. In so many ways, Jesus flip-flopped the values of this culture upside down. The journey is not toward the most toys, prestige, and power. The Jesus journey is toward letting go of these ego-based notions in order to focus on the well-being of our brothers and sisters. And by brothers and sisters, I mean that in the whole biotic world. And that empathetic, humble, and vulnerable way of Jesus that serves this world is our path toward joy, fulfillment. And I look around and I don't see a lot of me-centered greed path, the people on that me-centered greed path becoming very happy or full of joy. And I think it's because the me-centric ego-building life misses one of humanity's deepest needs: connection. We live in a time of great disconnection from ourselves, from each other, the natural world, and God. And it dramatically affects, I think, the quality of our life. The word religion is interesting. It comes from a Latin word, ligere, to join or link together. The purpose of religion has always been to rejoin together the broken pieces. And unfortunately, it has often fallen miserably short of living up to its name. And while we can certainly find examples where religion has divided people, we can also find examples where it reconnected people. And we're embarking on a journey to rejoin and reconnect. The general direction of this journey is hopefully toward a deeper connection to God, each other, ourselves, and the natural world. Once a week, I'll be making a video that unpacks some aspect of spirituality. One of my mentors is a Franciscan who lives in New Mexico, Richard Rohr. He focuses on two key components of spirituality: contemplation and action. And we'll spend time contemplating some of the key concepts of Christianity. And later, hopefully in the fall, um, I hope to turn this series into a confirmation type class where we will meet to do service projects in the community. But first, we'll try to get to know each other here. And you could check out a post each Wednesday and see if there's anything here that adds something beneficial to your life. One of the concepts that Richard Rohr talks about is building a container. A container to Rohr is a mental apparatus where we can collect various understandings of the faith. And often people build these containers while growing up in the church. And then in adulthood, the container gets shattered by stress and the complexity of adult reality, which is perhaps a natural process. In other words, maybe the container should get shattered every once in a while. But these days, it's a little different. We have a lot of people who don't have much in the container, much of a container to even shatter, which is to say we don't have a lot of people with a lot of background in the Judeo-Christian narrative. And that's fine. But because there are many ways to the top of the mountain, many ways to live a fulfilling life. But if you're interested in exploring or re-exploring that Judeo-Christian narrative with someone whose simplistic Sunday school container has been shattered and then has come back to see some of the good things in there, then I invite you to join me each week for a spiritual journey into the Judeo-Christian tradition of faith. We'll get started with our spiritual autobiographies so we can kind of get to know each other. I'll share my journey, and if you want, you can share your journey in the comments section. I'd love to hear what your journey's been like. But first, I should say, I don't have any special qualifications. I haven't heard any voice come down from the sky and say, God has called me to speak on matters of faith. And I don't claim to have any special insight about God. If anything, I'm very unqualified. For one, I have many doubts myself, and I don't live particularly holy. I'm quick to anger, prone to hold grudges, and I struggle with my ego. I do have a degree in religion from Northwestern College in Orange City, where I studied church history, world religions, and the Bible. But honestly, most of my understanding of spirituality comes from my own everyday experience and the things that I've read about people like Martin Luther King Jr., Dorothy Day, Rabbi Abraham Heschel, Mother Teresa, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Mahatma Gandhi, Leo Tolstoy, St. Francis of Assisi, the Prophet Muhammad, and Jesus and Buddha. And one cool thing about the United Church of Christ is that list of people isn't threatening. In fact, each one is an addition to our faith experience. The United Church of Christ is a religious hybrid that draws from many strands of faith, with Jesus being a central figure in the formation of its faith. And to get into the heart of the matter, he stands for love, unconditional love, for everyone, no matter age, race, gender, physical and mental challenges, financial standing, sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. And lastly, before I get to that spiritual autobiography, which I'll post next week, let me just add that my why. Why am I doing this? For me, it goes back to one of those people mentioned above, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Bonhoeffer was a German theologian who taught at Union Theological Seminary in New York City in the early 1930s. And when he saw the rise of fascism in Germany, he left his cushy job in New York and returned to his troubled homeland in Germany. He would eventually be executed for his stand against Hitler, but not before he taught confirmation to some young people in Berlin. And he went to the poorest part of Berlin and set into teaching the fundamentals of faith. And that was his Quixotic stand. This was his way of taking down the Nazi regime. He believed that his country was in a moral crisis, and the way to deal with it was to teach the moral values of Jesus. That makes a lot of sense to me. As foolish as it may be, with all the self help grifters online offering all kinds of ways to reach self actualization, I want to take up the torch of Dietrich Bonhoeffer and say, there's another way. It's not about me and my ego, it's about others and the health of the whole, which is also my path toward wholeness. So, like I said, in the next installment, I'll share my spiritual biography in hopes of starting a dialogue about our spiritual journeys. And hopefully, this has been helpful in explaining the orientation of this course. And hope you can join us here next week. Peace.